Welcome back to Create Wealth Through Franchising podcast and Kim Daily TV. In my studio today, a new friend. His name is Trey Lemon, all the way down south in Orange Beach, Alabama. Trey, welcome to the studio of Kim Daily TV.
Thank you. Thanks, Kim. Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
This is the most happening place in franchising, Trey Lemon. We tell the best stories because we tell your story. That's the story that everybody out there who's thinking about a franchise, who doesn't yet own one, wants to hear. They don't want to hear it from the franchisor. They want to hear it from you. Mm-hmm. And they want to know what was happening in your life when you said, I think I want to own a franchise.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then why you settled on, and I haven't even said it. He is a franchisee with Kilwin's Chocolate Fudge and Ice Cream. So Trey, take us to the beginning of your story when you answered the call to franchising.
Oof. All right. I think, let's go back. So it was like 2017. And I was an independent contractor for a company doing sales. And my kids were real young, and in our busy season, I was working close to 60 or 70 hours a week. And I was just like, what am I doing here? So, and the people I knew were not, it was an education sale. So all I knew was teachers and principals. So I was trying to find a way to kind of exit that environment, but I didn't have any inroads. So eventually we started looking at franchises, and we settled on Kilwin's. And here's why. Back in my yesteryear, I was about 23 or 24. I worked at a Kilwin's back in Wilmington, North Carolina. And it was just a side job for me. I was actually teaching at the time. And so I walked in, and my sister had a friend who worked there, and she said, "Oh, Brenda can get you a job." So I walked in, and it's like, this is super cool. You guys make all that in the kitchen? And they were making like brittle or something. And I was like, oh, very neat. So first day, they hired me on the spot. First day, they're, commenting on that stuff. It's like, do you want to learn to cook? I'm like, I guess, sure. So I always just thought it was kind of cool that they did all that stuff. And everybody who came in was, they walk in, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can smell you off the street. But we're literally pumping like the fumes out on the street. So you can smell the fudge. You can smell like the waffle cones. So it's, free marketing. But it was just like an environment that was just really neat. All the customers are always happy. You had nobody getting angry at you or anything. And so it's just a fun place to be. And I remember when you walk in, they have this like poster and it's in every Kilwin's, and it shows where they are. And there's a little card that says, do you want to own a franchise? And at the time I'm like 23, 24. And I'm thinking like, this might be cool. And then you look at the franchise fee, you go on the website, and it's like, yeah, there's no way. Because I'm broke,
Not at 23.
Yeah, not at 23. So, it presented itself as an option. As I was looking at franchises, Kilwin's came to mind, and I was kind of looking at it. And I just remember how busy we were. It was just always so busy, and everything was so good. Like the product was just amazing. This is the best ice cream I've ever had, hands down. And then my mom was this huge fudge person. So anytime we go to the mountains, we always got fudge. But this is a different kind of fudge, just Mackinac Island style fudge. We literally paddle it on a marble table. It's a process. Like you have to learn how to do it. It's phenomenal. So we make caramel in-house, corn's brittle. So I knew how to do all that stuff. And I think that's probably one of the things that probably is overwhelming to new franchisees. So I was, I'm like, this is easy. I already ran a business. Let's go. But we hadn't owned a business in retail. So that, we had some learning curves, at the beginning. So, but that's how we got here. We exited that business. I sold my stake in it. We sold our house. We moved to Orange Beach, Alabama from Wilmington, North Carolina in 2018. My kids were like, 10, 6, and 2, maybe. And we just started over. So it was kind of a whirlwind that year. And I feel like we took a chance because we didn't know. And then it worked out. So here we are.
Of course you took a chance. You can only know the how looking back, right? You had a dream and you followed it and you made it happen. So why did you have to move? Because all the locations where you were sold?
Well, no. Yes and no. So, I think every franchise has a protected area, right? That in this kind of first right of refusal, the place that was in Wilmington was like, I asked them one day, I was like, how did you guys get this spot? Like, you couldn't ask for a better spot. Like, it's literally downtown, right on Market Street, where everybody is. There's a horse-drawn carriage right in front of it. They just got lucky. The franchise, the people who you reach out to, they know where everything is. They're like, well, if you do it here, you got to be on Main Street and such and such. And we couldn't do that. So my wife's family, lives close to Pensacola. So I asked, well, what do you have around Pensacola? I was open to moving. And they said, we ever heard of Orange Beach? And I was like, no. And so where's that? She said, it's in Alabama. I was like, didn't know they had beaches in Alabama. So we came down Christmas because we were familiar with the Panhandle. And we just made a trip over to the wharf in Orange Beach and checked it out. And we're like, all right, maybe we could do this. And then you go over to the Discovery Day. And that's what really sold it for my wife, when you meet all the people with the franchise and you see how invested they are in it, and how much they care, and how nice they are and welcoming. And you're like, all right, this feels like we're going to get the support that we need. And so that sold her. I was sold from the get go. Like I was like, I knew. So that's how it happened.
So your wife's a real trooper, right? So you're like, hey, honey, not only are we going to start a business, but we're going to move to do it. I'm going to give up our stable life. We're going to give up everything we know, and we're going to change everything all at one time.
That was not, she thought I was crazy, right out of the gate. And that was probably the best sales job, sales in previous life. That was the best sales job I ever did, besides selling her on me. So yeah, she'll tell you all the time that I take all kinds of, she doesn't take any chances. I take chances. Like, I take calculated chances. I like running the numbers. I like seeing data. But just being familiar with kills, and she was too, because we used to go to that store in Wilmington all the time. But her just kind of having that support and seeing like what it's about from that side of it kind of made her feel comfortable. So it was
100%. Now, does she join you in the business, or is she busy with your 3 kids?
Yeah.
Oh, she does.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. She's probably like the cog that holds everything together, honestly, because she's so good with people. She's so good with our managers. We do like a weekly phone call, and she runs that. She's like the opposite of me. So we kind of like,
complement each other.
She's the yin to my yang kind of thing. So I wouldn't want to do this without her. She's awesome.
So you started in 2018, and how many stores do you have open today?
We have 4 today. As of December, we opened our first one, our 4th one. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that growth. So you opened the one, and then things were going well. Like, how did you decide that you wanted to open more?
Yeah, we weren't actually looking for it. I mean, I thought when I opened it's like, yeah, maybe one day we could have more than one. And a guy named Brian Crawford, who works in Southeast for Killins, he reached out to us and said, hey, I think we got a lead over at Pensacola Beach. They're looking to kind of redo things and shake up the tenants. He said, you want to come, meet me over here and take a look at it. So we went over on a Saturday to go look at Pensacola Beach. That was our second location. And literally, like, we're waiting like 45 minutes to get on the island. It's so busy. It's like in July. And, it was just super busy. And we were looking at a spot, and it was really small. And I'm thinking, like, I don't know how we could run a store out of this, but they designed it where it works, and it's super busy. It's our busiest store.
So did I hear you right? So you weren't necessarily looking for a second location, but the corporate territory people were advancing the market, and they had a great location, or they thought they did. And so then they invited you to come look at it and go, hey, do you want a second one?
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
That's a reverse psychology move to suck you in.
And because it was so foreign to the people here, the Killins was not in this area, that it was one of the things that's like, we've kind of created all this goodwill, and people know us now from here. So it's like, I didn't want to let that pass us by. So again, that's me kind of, and then, so I kind of had to push my wife a little bit, Danielle. We did it. We did that one. I think we opened in 2021. No, I think it was 22. It was post COVID. We had to go through COVID with the first store. So that was different. Yeah, that was the second one. And then we opened the one in downtown Pensacola, like about 2 years after that. And we literally passed by the street that it's on. So it was the same kind of situation. I think one of the local person had reached out to them and said, hey, we got this spot. And I was like, I don't think this spot's going to work. And then a couple months later, we got another spot. I'm like, yeah, that's the spot. And I'm like, it was just like, I couldn't let it go. It was, the goodwill. We've done it.
So the franchisor is really helping you, aiding you in sort of like being the visionary for like opening these additional locations. Was it your goal though to have all these stores, or were you making enough money from one that you were kind of satisfied there? Or, I mean, I know that wealth is always created through scale, but for you and your income goals, would one have been enough?
Well, yes. It would have been enough, and especially because we were owner operators. We were in there I was there full time. My wife's in there about 20 hours a week because our kids get out of school early. When we opened, we had our youngest wasn't 2 yet. So, it was definitely enough. They give you the tools to kind of to be profitable right out of the gate. Because Killins is kind of like an impulse buy. People walk by and they see you making stuff in the window and they smell it. So they're coming in. So it's not like, we're profitable from day one. It's great. So the formula works. We weren't looking to expand, and it was really kind of it's like, how do we do this? How do you go from like, we're here every day to now we got to let the reins go. So one of our first hires, we hired 6 when we opened. I just knew it was like, she's the one. If we do this, we got to get her on board first. And she was going to she's moved to Pensacola. She was, born and raised in Orange Beach, and it's only about an hour, but that's where her people were. So she moved. She opened that store with us, and she's been with us since. So now she's operating both stores in the Pensacola side. So she's great.
So to grow, you really have to go from this owner operator mentality, or you had to, because you were in the store, to how do I let this go, and learn to lead a manager and trust that person that they will do right by you, even though the store's an hour away.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a trust thing in there. And obviously when you hire people, you kind of have a good feeling about them. But, as you kind of develop these relationships, you feel comfortable and you trust them. And if you don't have the trust, it's hard to let go. And even me, I'm a control freak by all means. My wife will tell you that. I still struggle a little bit. So, but you have to give them the opportunity to either, succeed or fail. And if they fail, we talk about it, and we kind of make adjustments, and we do that. And everybody, has struggles, and everybody has successes. So, but you need people if you're going to move forward. You have to have good people around you.
And as you opened that second store an hour away, how many days a week or hours a week were you driving an hour away to go check in?
We opened in May. When you're at a vacation destination, it's kind of like, feast or famine. So it's feasting. So we opened up and we were just so busy. And we had a manager at our first spot, and she didn't work out. So here we are in Orange Beach, and we're kind of swamped there. And and her name's Hallie. Here's Hallie is in Pensacola Beach. And we're trying to get over there, but she was pretty much, fighting for her life for a little bit, and she figured it out. It was a struggle, and then it got better. So, and as you kind of develop, you kind of get more processes. We had processes here, but they got to be implemented, and we're not there every day. So they kind of have to get on board. And, as you get some time under you, those get tweaked a little bit, and it becomes easier. So that's how it works.
The reason I'm asking the question, Trey, is there's so many people out there who try to solve all of these problems before they even own one store, right? And I'm like trying to make the point by letting you talk through it out loud that you can't solve the problems from the sideline. Like, you got to get in and you got to let the problems come. I mean, look, if you're looking for life to be easy as a business owner, I don't think you really want to own a business. It gets easier, as he said, but it's always a little bit of a hot mess, right? Even in a franchise, even where things are proven, right? You have your own learning curve and your own growth curve in terms of recognizing that if you are a person who likes control, surrendering that control to other people when they're taking your life savings and, a business that you're calling your own, but they're going to be the ones in it doing it. And you have to go through your own growth curve in order to allow that to happen and to allow it successfully. So now you're up to 4 stores. So talk a little bit about growing from 2 to 3. So maybe you could be like your wife here and you here, but when you get to 3 or 4 stores, now you're outnumbered. Like, how that growth as a CEO has happened for you and what that's taught you about yourself and your future opportunity.
Yeah, it's actually funny because you can equate it to like having children. When it's just one, you're double teaming this kid, and then you have 2, and you're like, all right, now we're playing kind of a zone.
Man to man.
Yeah, but it gets easier because you have to make tools and processes to kind of make it work. So, but we try to get in each store 1 day a week, each of us, and that's seasonal too, because when we're not busy, it's like, we're not needed. I mean, and I'm not in there cooking all the time. Now I'll get in there and kind of hash it up in the kitchen, and I'll try to help with people with training because I've done it so many times, and there's processes to it. So, but we want to be present. We want to make sure that our stores run like we're in there, and then we want to give them feedback, and we want to meet our employees. There's some people that, we don't meet. Maybe they're just working at night. And so we try to, be a familiar face, if nothing else.
Yeah. And so you run your kind of team meetings over Zoom or over the phone, you said?
Yeah, we do a weekly phone call every Monday. It's at 9:30. And we kind of always, I think Danielle and I kind of use Monday as a reset. Weekends are always busy. And it's like, all right, let's get in here early. Let's kind of get a lay of the land. Let's create a plan. And so we have topics we talk about, things that we might see, stuff that the franchise might push out that we want to address. So just kind of, and just seeing how they're doing. It's the first question is like, Danielle leads the meetings. She's fantastic. She's like, let's just do a quick catch up. It's, Avery, how'd your week go? And we just want to see what was the weekend like, that kind of stuff. We started off talking about, NCAA basketball this past weekend and my bracket that I'm doing fantastic in. So
important priorities first.
Yeah. But we want to keep that personal touch with them. Even though we see them once a week or so, but we don't get the time to kind of, BS. And we spend about 10 minutes doing that. And then we kind of hit the ground running.
Yeah, because it builds that camaraderie. It's your company. It's your culture. You want the people to know that you genuinely care about them and that they're like part of your like family in your stores, right? Yeah. So you mentioned earlier before we hit record that store number 4 was a little bit different. Let's talk about that one.
Yeah. So this, the new store is a Killen's ice cream and chocolate shop. So it's a little bit smaller footprint. The square footage isn't as large, and we're just offering our homemade ice cream, original recipe ice cream, chocolates, candies. So it's kind of made to kind of wedge into a smaller spot or footprint. And we had a new development open up at the front of our place in Orange Beach at the wharf. And it just seemed like a good opportunity, and it's nice green space, a stage. And we again, I couldn't let somebody else take that from us. So we kind of jumped at the opportunity. A little bit of a sales job on my part to my wife, and then she got on board. So
now, any of your kids working in the business yet?
If you're busy, you got to pick them up for school, and they're kind of sitting in the back working on homework and doing stuff. So my oldest now is 14. She's about to be 15 here in June. So she started on the counter like at 11. So she's tiny back there and helping people. And now she's like taller than my wife. But she's been doing it for quite a while. And fortunately, when it's your child, you're not breaking labor laws. It's fine. We're not working her to her bones or anything. But she enjoys it. She likes the extra little bit of cash. And we know even at like 12 years old, like, she could run that store. She knew how to do everything. It was kind of fascinating. So
it's amazing. Talk a little bit about the legacy that you feel you've built. Like, and when you first decided, hey, we're going to go buy a franchise and become business owners, was that on your mind, or is that just something that's like happened because your kids grow up in that business with you as entrepreneurs or franchisepreneurs?
Well, I mean, for us, it was just things just kind of work out for a reason. I don't know. Had I not worked at a Killen's when I was 23, this probably wouldn't have happened. And had I not been so stressed out working another job, this probably wouldn't happen. So who knows? But for my kids, we try to show them our work ethic, how important it is, how important people are. Like yesterday, I went to the store and it's like, yeah, this store needs to be mopped. And I spent some time mopping the store. So we still all do all those things, and we're not above that. And I hope that's rubbing off on our kids. If they want to be involved in the franchise later on, they're welcome to. I'm trying not to pigeonhole them. My oldest son, he's 12 and he wants to be an engineer and he loves math and science. So we're going to support that, whatever they want to do. So, but we are there as a fallback. If they want to work with us later on in life, I'd love that.
It's really good. Dad, probably what's going to happen is he's going to go work for somebody and he's going to be like, my parents didn't have a life like this. And then he's going to turn back and understand the genius of small business ownership.
Yeah, it's, it's interesting because we have a lot of flexibility, whereas like we're not working a 9 to 5. We don't have to be here at a certain designated time. When we were operators, it was a little bit different. But even at that, I can get somebody to come in and replace me. But when you have multiple franchises, you can be where you want, when you want. You can work as much as you want, when you want. And we do like being in the stores. But we're doing a lot of back end stuff now that we didn't have to do before. Today's order day. So Danielle was, checking orders and that kind of stuff. We're going to look at it again a little later. Big into tech stuff and communication that way. So I like seeing data. So when they're doing inventories and things, they're putting on spreadsheets in our Google Drives, and we can check that in real time. So we're kind of tweaking that kind of thing. So, it's a different kind of busy. But, I wouldn't trade it.
Yeah. So share with us a little bit about how your life is different, not just because you moved from North Carolina to Alabama, But making this decision to become a franchisepreneur, leaving corporate America and kind of like the comfort of the paycheck and all of those things. Do you have any like words of wisdom for people that may be listening who are kind of in that, yeah, but like, how do you do that? How do you make that switch? Like, just talk a little bit about that if you can, how your life is different or better or just different.
Well, different. The first thing pops in my mind is like my oldest son loves, actually both my boys love Alabama. Alabama football is king in Alabama. So it's roll tide all the way. From North Carolina, I'm like, oh, Alabama. Yeah. But yeah, we watch a lot of college football in the SEC now. Yeah, but as far as making the change, I would say do your homework. You can go on the franchises, they offer that FTD. Look at that, try to extrapolate as much information as you can from that because they're giving it to you. And then, they'll give you a list of franchisees to reach out to. And those are probably the cream of the crop. So if you pick their brains and we're probably one of those folks, anybody reaches out to me. I mean, I remember being on that end and making those phone calls and being really appreciative of the information that they share with you. So I try to be completely candid and honest with folks. You got to go out to the location. So if you're looking at a spot for us, it's based on walking traffic. I mean, how busy are they? Because when people walk by, we want that theater there. We want them to come in. We want to, enhance the senses for them. So, but you got to see how busy it is. So, you have to do your homework. So that's super important.
Okay. So since you brought up the FDD, do your stores surpass those C student earnings they show in the FDD, Trey?
Yes. I think anybody that really takes pride in their work, the way we kind of operate is, if you keep your shelves full, your store clean, and you're nice to the customers, you're going to be successful. Especially, isn't
it crazy? The simplest things, right? This is not rocket science, people, right? Like it's the simple things.
Yeah, and we live by. Now, there's a lot of things you have to do to kind of get to that, and some folks don't, and they kind of flounder and they don't make it. But it's not like the franchise doesn't set you up for success. They kind of give you a set of things that they want you to do, and you don't have to do them. But it's a proven method. So we do really try to stick to those things and make them better if we can.
Yeah. The reason I bring it up is because I have a lot of videos on my YouTube channel at kimdaly.tv where I kind of dispel the myth of how to use the FDD, how earnings claims at the end of the day really don't matter. Like I want you to pull the general information out of there, but I believe that too many people set a limiting belief about what's possible by looking at an earnings claim when, in fact, a business is a dynamic environment and year over year, those earnings claims are going up. So if you're looking at the franchise a year later, right, you're looking at a different earnings claim. So when you're looking at an earnings claim, you're like, whoa, these people aren't making enough money. I don't want to invest in this business. It's like, I'm like over here, my mind is being blown, Trey. That's why I'm saying that. Like when you're out there and you're validating with franchise owners, that's the real word on the street. That's where the business is today at this moment. Anything that they're making in an earnings claim, it's past data, right? So by doing the validation that he's suggesting, talking to other owners, it is one of the most critical things you're going to do to piece together what's happening right now in the system. That's what you want. You're investing in the franchise for the future potential opportunity, not looking back. So we look back to get comfortable that when they say they're going to these new places, we're like, okay, well, it's reasonable to assume that if they got here, that we can believe they're going to go there. But you're not investing in the franchise for where it was. You're investing for where it's going. So what's more important is that you're able to validate with owners who say they're happy, they're growing, that the business is supportive, that things are improving, because that's what's real. That's what's real time. And that's what's probably more telling about the future that you'll have as a franchisee.
Well, I couldn't agree more, because the people that care, that do that kind of research and that hold themselves to a higher standard, when people come to your stores, they're going to see that. And hopefully, high tide raises all boats. So that's what you're going for, and kind of setting the standard for the rest of the franchise. And as this franchise itself does better, that at least for expansion and more recognition. So that's what's happening with Kilman's right now. When I was working in Wilmington, there's probably 40 stores. they're pushing 180 right now, and the growth has been really substantial in the past few years. And they do have a goal to kind of reach 400 in the next 4. So the growth's there. We're making some changes internally that are really going to help. And so that's what good franchises do.
It's really good. What I love about this is the best of everything. It's like a legacy brand, right? Because it's been around for however many years.
Since 1947.
47 years?
Yeah, not since 1947. They started franchising in the 80s. So they've been franchising for, 40 plus years now.
It's crazy, but yet there's this push for growth because of the private equity money that came in and wants to like take this brand to the next level. So if you're thinking about a franchise, here's what's great about that. You'll have enough validation from people who've been in the brand for a while, but then you're going to have to pair that with the new vision and the new mentality of where this brand wants to go, right? Because sometimes legacy owners who've been in for a long time kind of have their set ways and do things, and they may resist change. So validating with owners who are coming in during this change and who have the vision for being a part of that change is going to help you. That's just a little bit of extra advice. If I'm your coach, your franchise consultant, I'll talk you through that anyway when it's time for that. So Trey, this is an awesome, awesome story. So let's wind this down by leaving some lasting words of advice from you. So you are one of these people who literally moved to change his life. When people come to me, Trey, and they're like, well, I think I'm going to move to start a franchise. I'm like, yeah, okay. Why don't you move first? And then we'll talk about adding the business in. But in a rare exception, it actually does unfold the way that this story has unfolded. And so you have so much wisdom. So for that person who's sitting out there just listening to this episode, maybe this is the first episode or the 10th episode, they love Kim Daly, but they haven't yet reached out to me to help them find the right franchise for them. So what advice do you have as parting words to those listeners?
Whatever franchise that you choose, you have to love it, first of all. I mean, if you don't have a passion for it or you don't have some kind of history in it, then you're not going to be full behind it. And so to be extra successful, that's what you need. You can't be half in. You got to be all in. And then you have to do your homework and you have to be committed to it. And if you can do those things, I think there's a lot of success that's waiting down the road.
It's amazing. Do you think that you're unemployable? Like, can you ever imagine going back and working for anybody else ever again?
I would think I'm probably the worst employee ever at this point. I don't think anybody could handle me. I'd be way too much. So they've been trying to ask me. I
love it. I love the story when franchising makes us unemployable. I'm also in that camp. So if you're out there listening to this episode and you too want to become unemployable, well, you know that Kim Daly definitely wants to be your franchise consultant and your daily coach. So please follow the link in the description right now because I can't wait to meet you. And Trey, thank you so much for being our special guest.
Absolutely, Kim. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.